Hello everybody, my name is Pravus and welcome to Realpolitics II, a new modern-era grand strategy game that is going into early access on Steam on November 18th. And a big thank you to 1C Entertainment for sponsoring today's video and getting me early access to this game so I can create a video for you guys. It's very much appreciated, and of course there's going to be a link in the description down below if you guys would like to learn more. Now, Realpolitics I was a game about global domination, and there were several different ways you could approach that goal. Of course, military might is one obvious way to dominate the world, but if you were more diplomatically oriented, you could put together a coalition of nations and form a new world government, or if you wanted to dominate the world through trade and become the economic hegemon, that was certainly an option too. Lots of different ways that you can play the game. Realpolitics II builds upon that concept, but just improves it in every way. There's a new economic system that's been completely revamped, military engagements are a little bit more detailed than they were before, and there's a whole load of new diplomatic and spy actions that you can take to really tailor the game however you want to play it. It's pretty cool, so we're going to go ahead and jump into an official campaign and see what it's all about. Now, of course, one thing to note, as I said, this is early access, so this game is subject to change. I think the game is due to be released early 2021. We'll revisit it back when it does get closer to release date, but if there are some bugs or some incomplete features, that's probably going to be hammered out in the near-ish future. Alright, we're going to be playing On the Brink of Tomorrow, which is more of the standard campaign, kind of a free sandbox where you can pick one of, I think it's 216 different countries to play with, which is obviously quite a lot. And one fun fact about Realpolitics II is it does introduce a modding feature, which the previous game did not have. So if there actually ends up being a pretty large modding community around this game, there could be a whole load of fun alternate history scenarios that would make this game have a lot more replayability. So we're going to go ahead and play as the United States of America because it is my home country. Also, because it is large and very powerful, I think we'll have a few more options available to us at the beginning of the game, which will let me show off a few more of the features. So the USA is known as the most powerful country in the world and considered the mainstay of democracy. While geographically we remain relatively safe from direct foreign danger, we are often involved in conflicts all over the world. All right, sounds fun. Whoa, where are we going, map? Hello. Okay, here we go. So, to start off, we have to choose our right hand, which is basically going to be like our main advisor for the next 100 years in the game. Mostly, though, the point of the right hand is to give you a little bit more tailoring to a different playstyle. For example, Irene Nimitz, as a right hand, is somebody who is more diplomatically oriented, so we would have extra relations with countries, would be able to have extra action points, and try to gain favor with other nations. So if you want to go for a world government victory, then this is certainly a good option for you. As opposed to William Kelly, who is more militaristic and lets me fabricate claims a little bit faster and with more success. So lots of different advisors we could choose, some of which get a little bit silly, like Taxman, or perhaps Clippy from Microsoft Office, or a lizard person. You can do whatever you want here, but we're going to go for Joanne Charlington, who is a corporate mogul and actually will help me get a lot more money as the United States. You can't change this once you make your choice, so choose wisely. Okay, so I don't want to turn this into a very lengthy tutorial video because then I'll be here for the next hour or so. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a very brief rundown as to what's going on, and then we're just going to play the game and have a little bit of fun with it. So to start off in the top map over here, we can see we have score, which is one way of winning the game. After 100 years, if you have the most score, you're going to win. I'm not going to worry about that, though. We have money and action points, both of which are necessary to take a lot of actions, build buildings or units, maintain those units, etc., etc. You want to have plenty of both. We have some special materials we can mine and trade, and that includes metals, fuels, and rare earth elements. And GDP growth. Obviously, more GDP growth means more money, so this is always good. The Human Development Index is an indicator of how prosperous our people are, and the higher this is, usually the better, and it does unlock some different victory conditions. Then we have manpower to fuel our armies and missiles, all of which is pretty cool. Down over here in the bottom left, we have an overview of several different important aspects of the game, such as our government. And you can see here we have accepted cultures. If we take a look right here, Yankee, Dixie, and Californian are the three cultures of the U.S., apparently. That's pretty cool. Then we have our civilization is Western type. We have action points, population. Politics is kind of fun. So this political system is actually broken up into three different types of government. We have democracy, authoritarianism, and totalitarianism. And this is actually an aggregate of 3 different indicators, which has to do with how centralized your government is and how much personal control you exert over your country. So interventionism would be a more centralized and interventionalist economic role, where you are frequently regulating and intervening in the economy. Personal control for the social aspect, and militarism for military control. And each of these have some pros and cons. There's different starting conditions for different countries, but in this case, as the United States, we aren't very centralized, therefore we are considered to be a democracy. Down here, we can take a look at Parliament. This is a very important aspect for your internal politics. We have, rather than parties, ideologies. So center-right, radical center, far-right, center-left, and far-left, representing the different groups within our country. And if we want to lobby these parties to make them more likely to support my decisions, we can certainly do so. But this is very important for your internal political control. Diplomacy, projects, etc. Then we can take a look at economy. There's our money, our debt. We can change our tax ratio, for example. If we want to get a little bit more money, we can. But in doing so, you can see that we are reducing our economic growth. So we have to be very cautious about raising our taxes too much, even though I would love to have the extra income. It's a short-term gain for a long-term pain. And there's more details for our budget, etc. Finances, there are stock markets, etc. Yeah, lots of stuff. I can't show you absolutely everything as much as I would like to. Military is going to be important. We can hire up more units and get generals and spies. And then there's more information for individual provinces. For example, down here in Western Texas, we can see the population and the local GDP, the chance of rebellion, as well as some of the materials that are being extracted. All of this ends up being very, very important for you. Within these individual states, we can construct buildings. There is 1 building slot available for every state, and what you can build is dependent a bit on what technologies you have unlocked, as well as other indicators like, let's say, the terrain. I can't build a farm in Arkansas because I don't have the right type of terrain, apparently. If I went to Indiana, could I do something like that? Yeah, but I don't have the right kinds of projects for some stuff. Let's see. Oh, we can build a farm here. Perfect. So a farm's a very easy example. It does cost a bit of money and action points and some metals. It also has a daily maintenance we'll have to worry about, but it increases my GDP growth by 0.01% and the population growth by 0.01% as well. So building a few of these, for example, could be pretty nice. But with only 1 slot for every state, you do have to be somewhat careful. Stepping away from the individual states, let's take a quick look at a fun aspect of the game called projects. Now, this is kind of like scientific research or technology or cultural innovation. They're policies, basically, for your government. If we take a look at, let's say, infrastructure down over here, in green, you can see what we already have unlocked, blue, what we can unlock, and red, stuff that is currently locked until we finish some of the prerequisites. So, for example, let's suppose that I wanted to focus on a policy for commercial air traffic. There's a cost associated and an upkeep, which is a little bit pricey for me, but would increase the GDP growth of the United States by 0.02% per quarter, which is not half bad. I would like that a lot. There's also army policies, more military technologies, eventually leading to things like stealth bombers, or maybe we want to get antimatter bombs. I don't know. Lots of different things that you can do. A lot of these will improve your economic or financial situation. Some of them are tailored to improve your human development index. All of these things ultimately end up being pretty good for us. There's also some technologies, or projects, I should say, which are unique to different cultures or civilization blocks, like Western, for example. If we get some other prerequisites out of the way, we could focus on our Christian traditions and become a defender of the faith. Or perhaps you can focus on technological thought and mass production, etc. The United States is fun because we have access to either America First or, let's say, leader of the free world, which costs a little bit, but improves my relations with everyone if we were to finish this. Also makes it a little bit more painful to be a warmonger because we're supposed to be peaceful. But it reduces the maintenance cost of a lot of our armies, so I mean, all this stuff ends up being pretty good, right? Let's go ahead and work on some of that, and I'm going to focus on, let's say, maybe getting some internal security with basic security infrastructure to improve the Human Development Index and also reduce unhappiness in the country so that we're not going to have any rebellion issues. Okay, that's a lot of the internal management taken care of. Now, what about foreign affairs? Well, you can interact with different nations. Let's say Canada, for example. Hello. We'll right-click on you, and there are several different actions you can take: aggressive or positive, cooperative, and eventually block actions if they are part of your, basically a faction. Let's go to positive actions. let's say I want to improve relations with Canada. Right now we have 121 relations with them. There's a 65% chance that I can improve it if I spend just a little bit of money, which I am certainly happy to do. So we'll do that to try and improve with Canada. But Mexico, for example, let's say I want to be aggressive against them and perhaps flex my military power a little bit to gain some more territory and resources. Let's go to aggressive actions down here. We could insult them so that we have bad relations, and eventually we'll be able to declare war on them. Or perhaps I want to claim a core state from them. For example, right down over here in Ciudad Victoria. We can do that. There is going to be a 40% chance of success, and you can see that not all of my political parties necessarily agree with this action. We do have to be careful about that. If they are not going to work with me, well then maybe I have to lobby the parties and try to get them on my side. I don't know. Let's go ahead and give this one a shot. Only a 40% chance of success, but if we get a core out of that, that's not so bad. Lots of things you can do with these guys. Setting up trade deals with, let's say, Cuba, for example, is a thing we can do. Cooperation treaties, try to get them to align more with us politically, etc., etc. The military is obviously quite important, so I'm going to start moving these guys down to Texas in the event that we do have some sort of a war with Mexico. May happen, may not. If you want to train up more units, we can do so by going to military staff and then going to our barracks. Now, barracks is a structure you can build in some states, so it does take up a building slot, but that is where you train up your military units. And down over here, if you look at, let's say, the mechanized infantry, we can see exactly what they are good at. Here's their statistics, and here's what they have extra combat bonuses against. If you ever get a little bit lost as to what's going on, don't worry. Up over here in the top right, there are going to be some notifications to give you some idea of what actions you're taking and what special events might be happening in the world. For example, I am training up a lot of military units, and I am setting up some more farms just to get a little bit of extra GDP growth. Now, we did improve relations with Canada, and in fact, we did so very well and got an extra favor point. Now, that is kind of random as to when that's going to happen, but I'm happy with it. By getting their relationships up as well as getting a favor point, what we could do is ask them to join our bloc and become a part of our faction, which actually sounds pretty darn nice for me. There is only a 65% chance of success, but I'm going to go ahead and roll that dice, and let's give that a go. While we are waiting for some of these actions to finish up, another thing we could do is possibly take some actions locally in some of our states. For example, if I want to go to a province action right here, we could aggressively exploit the resources, which is one way of getting some extra metals, fuels, and rare earth elements out of the state. Of course, it does so at the cost of, let's say, some happiness in the region, and also degrades the environment. But it also reduces unemployment, which sounds pretty darn nice. So some of these options can be pretty good for you. There's also such things as maybe doing social policies, hosting a festival, or pacifying minorities, hosting propaganda efforts, etc. Lots of things you can do, including culture change, which I think is one way you could win the game. Also, every individual state is a part of a larger region. So Virginia, you can see here, is a part of this large eastern seaboard right there. We could do a regional action as well, like a tax break across all those different states, which does work well for the GDP growth, but also reduces my tax income by a lot, which I don't really want to do if I don't have to. You have more options in a state if you have a spy presence. Now, we have a bunch of spies sitting in Washington, D.C. right now. If I right-click here, you can see, yeah, there are some spy actions. If you're using a spy internally, you'll use it to, let's say, increase your interventionism or fight corruption, etc., or maybe you want to do military intelligence and suppress some rebels. There are options there. However, if we were to take some spies and travel to a foreign country like, let's say, Mexico, we'll have some different actions we could take. Oh, here we go. We were able to add Canada into our diplomatic bloc. Okay, now there isn't like NATO or anything in the game as far as I'm aware, so all blocks do have to be started from scratch. In this case, we created the bloc of the United States of America, and Canada has joined, so that's fun. That's going to open up some new diplomatic options with our friends in Canada. We can't be aggressive against members of our own bloc. We could remove them from the bloc, but I'm not going to do that. We can support them financially or try to get them to integrate with us more politically and kind of stick with our personal views. We could even eventually try to annex them diplomatically, though that will take a fair bit of time, and we would need to integrate a lot more with this country. How do you do that? Well, let's take a look at our bloc composition, since we have one now. Over here, you can see the bloc and all of our members. There is a maintenance cost for this bloc, and the more members there are, the more it's going to cost. But you can see down here is an integration bar. Certain projects do increase the integration. If we can get a bunch of these up to 100%, for example, we're going to get some special benefits from our block. Or if we can get all of them up to 70%, I think that's when you can try to do an annexation. Let's take a look at projects over here real quick and see, yep, block integration right down here. Here's a whole bunch of different options. Now, I only have 2 project slots, both of which are being used right now, which is why all of these are red. But these are the things you would be doing if you want to start integrating with your block. Now, I've managed to improve relations a little bit with some of the countries of Europe, except for the UK, ironically enough. So let's try setting up, let's say, a trade agreement with Germany. No, I can't do that. I first need to have investment points. Now, I think the requirements are slightly different based on their own governmental style. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's how it works. So if we want to have a trade agreement with Germany, I would first need some investment points, which means I need to go here, do, I think it's positive actions, and invest in them. This costs me a little bit, but we would get some investment that slowly starts building up, and investment points is something you can spend to increase your odds of a successful diplomatic action here. You know, whoever gives them the most money is going to be able to have sway over the country. That's just universally how it works. France also requires some investment, so let's try to do the same thing with them. We did finish passing our security infrastructure, which got my HDMI up by 1 up to 54, so let's go to projects and find something new we could do. Maybe I'd like to go down to military policy and start working on some of that. This reduces how much I'm going to suffer from war losses, and if we are going to end up going to war with Mexico to expand the USA, then this would be a very good thing for me to have. And all the parties agree, so let's just go ahead and pass some of that. Now, you might be wondering, how do you actually win this game? Good question. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at that right down over, I think it's over here. No, it's under government victories. Yes, victory conditions. There it is. Okay. So there are several ways of winning the game. World government is one of them. If we are a bloc leader and have passed certain projects and we are recognized by the UN, we would unlock a hidden condition to find out how we can pass a world government and win the game. Information as power is another one. If we can get really high HDI, then we can try to control the world by controlling the sources of information. That's kind of interesting. Globalization is one more thing we could do. We have to get some projects for that first. Economic mastery, have a massive GDP, and also make sure your unemployment is low to unlock more hidden conditions. Total domination for victory, and then, of course, eternal glory, which is simply the score victory after 100 years in-game. One thing to note, by the way, is that your buildings can be upgraded. So, for example, if I went to some of these farms and try to upgrade it, I can do so, and there are new effects that come out of that. We start destroying the environment, but we enjoy a more unemployment reduction and more GDP growth and so on and so forth. Down over here in California, we actually have a metropolis already built up, which is giving me a lot of different impacts, such as HDI, etc. But, of course, the environment degradation is a thing, and target unhappiness is going up. Skyscrapers, yeah, that's a thing. More population growth, blah, blah, blah. Yep, lots of things that you can do if you want to keep building nice and tall. You can have a completely pacifistic diplomatic game if you want to. That's really up to you. By the way, our spies have arrived down here in Mexico. They've been here for a little bit, actually. So let's go ahead and use them for some new hostile spy actions. If I were to take a look right over here, right-click spy actions, there we go. We can spy on them just sort of in general, or we can try to do political espionage. Maybe we can fabricate some claims or spread anxiety amongst the population. Military espionage, sabotage some buildings, corrupt people, hostile takeover, destroy their supply chains. Yeah, lots of cool things we could do. I wouldn't mind trying to go for a fabrication of a claim. Let's see, Mexico City provinces and core. I don't necessarily want to get a claim there, I think. What if I went up to Monterrey? Yeah, we're going to try to go up to Monterrey and see if I can get a claim going over here, because that is another justification of war. Oh, look, we have a random event. There are about 1,000 events that have been added into this game from the previous one, so there's a lot to do. Some of them are fairly standard, like, let's say, a diplomatic visit. Some of them get kind of extreme, like a meteor strike about to hit the Earth, and everybody better come together or we're all going to die. Yeah, that's a little bit fun. So we have a visitor on the way. Do we want to dazzle them with our prestige and lower our GDP growth for 40 days, or maybe some cheap wine? This is a little bit cheaper, but honestly, I'd rather just be super dazzling. Let's dazzle them. I have no idea if anything good comes out of that, but that's what we're going to try. Now, back on the topic of spies, if we want to do an action over here, so for example, we wanted to fabricate a claim in Monterrey, we can do that, but first you need spy points. Spy points generate over time by simply being in the enemy country. So We'll wait a little bit longer, and then we can work on this. We could also spend extra points to increase the chance from 50% up to 70%, which is probably worth it so I don't get caught and have some serious embarrassment. So we're going to try for that in a little bit. Ooh, there we go. Okay, we did get a core against Mexico, so now we can actually go to war if we want to. Ah, wait, there's also hyperinflation. No, we didn't stop inflation on time. We have some issues. Great. Okay, introduce a new currency and save our economy. Wow, this event is awful. Okay, well, ask allies for help. Maybe the bloc members can actually do something and stabilize our economy for us. Bloc member target unhappiness goes up, relations go down. Yeah, this is not exactly great across the board, is it? This hurts, but we're going to go ahead and introduce a new currency and save the economy. No longer are we going to have the US dollar. That's the perfect opportunity for me to be going to a war, right? By the way, can we actually try to do some spy actions before we do so? Let's say we want to do a hostile sabotaging of the Barracks, located right in that province there. That way we can prevent Mexico from training up anything new. And we'll spend some of our spy points. Ah, we don't have quite enough. If we wait just a little bit longer, we'll get enough spy points where we can do that. Hang on, hang on. I think that might actually be the better thing to do. We're also setting up trade agreements, like with anyone who's willing to. So, we got plenty of military units about ready to go. The Mexican army is pretty much sitting right here, so if we attack from Texas, we can probably pin most of them down. Never mind, they actually just left. That's awkward, but okay. So yeah, if we just wait a little bit longer, can we get some sort of a hostile action going there? Not that it necessarily matters, now that I think about it. We actually could just, like, walk in here and take over the barracks that way. That would actually work just fine. You know, that's probably a better way to go. Never mind, we're just going to go ahead and diplomatic actions, aggressive actions, declare war. We say that this actually rightfully belongs to us, and as a result, I'm going to war with you. Oh, but the parties don't like this idea. Hang on. That's where we now go to our internal politics and parliament system, and I'm going to lobby the crud out of these guys, spending my action points. Center-right and radical center. Tell me that you guys now support me. Yes? If I were to go to aggressive actions and declare war this time, ooh, only 25% chance. Despite the fact that we lobbied the radical center, they're still not exactly on board. Fine, I'll lobby everybody else. See if this works. Come on, give me a reason to fight. Okay, now we have a 75% chance of success. That was a little costly, but I didn't want to deal with that anymore. So let's go ahead and declare war on Mexico. All right, now all my troops are going to start marching on. Let's get in through here. You guys are going to go off this direction. Let's send some armies over this way. And we should have some smaller reinforcements that we can send over this direction nice and quick. So let's do exactly that. And as we march into enemy territory, we will start occupying it. But if we encounter some enemies in the process, well, then that means we are going to be fighting them. Let's make sure we send all of the armies this way. I don't want to have any of these guys accidentally get left behind. And where's my navy? Is this my navy? I think it is. The naval forces. We can send navies to actually take over their territorial waters as well. Turkey is at a crossroads. Oh, this is fun. There are apparently some events that are based in other countries. Let's see. They have pro-Western policy by younger generations or a nationalistic half that yearn for the old Ottoman Empire. Okay, so depending on what happens there, we might see something interesting. So we did just walk into this territory, and as a result, you can see that it is occupied. Now, we are going to be having to send some reinforcements in here quick because it looks like Mexico might be sending their armies to engage with me right over there. So I want to make sure we have plenty of reinforcements to pin these guys down. Yep, they are now engaging in a fight. My reinforcements are still on the way. We can take a look here and actually see what battles look like in this game. There it is. Now, every single province has a slightly different terrain map mode, and different types of terrain are important for other types of vehicles, etc., etc. Right now, I have some fighter jets, I have some anti-air weapons, and I have a few tanks sort of sitting around at the moment. I don't think I can send you guys up into mountains very well. We can try to target down some of these forces directly, but what I really want to do is hunker down and wait for some reinforcements to get in. So what I'm going to do is tell these guys to use a special engagement and entrench, which increases our unit defense temporarily, but we are not going to move very quickly. That's fine. Only going to last for 10 days while we wait for some reinforcements to arrive, and they are on the way. You can see as we fight, we are taking some losses, but now we have some units arriving. Okay, let's see. I'm going to have my helicopters try to take on, let's say, the infantry. I need some bombers to quickly knock out their anti-air defenses so I can move as much as I want, and some fighters to knock out their own air support. You guys also are going to knock out, let's say, the helicopters, and my tanks are going to target, again, the anti-air so that I am free to move as much as I need. All right, reinforcements coming in. Now things are looking a little bit better for me. You may notice, by the way, that we only have so many units joining, and there are some reserves. There is basically a combat whip type of mechanic where you can only send in so many units at the same time. So it's very possible that you're going to have a massive, overwhelming force, and you're going to get kind of bottlenecked for a little bit. So it may not be worth sending absolutely everything you've got into a single engagement. In fact, I'm going to take these guys and start heading toward Mexico City instead. These guys are going to be doing something similar while the rest of our reinforcements pop on in, but I think we're going to be fine with the reserves I've currently got. Yeah, now the stock market is booming. Well, that's fun. We could get some score out of this, but we can actually give some credit to our allies in Canada and say this is an opportunity to strengthen our ties and gain some of that economic integration. Well, that seems like a good idea. Probably a bit more useful to me than the score. Anyway, stock markets can be tied to various different indexes if you want to make some serious money. Right now, we are tied to the bond market, which is currently not making me much money, but we are getting some income. It's just the overall share value has gone down. We could change the index type by spending some various different materials and some money to, let's say, a stock share index, or perhaps foreign exchange, real estate, etc., etc. Having a diversity of several different types of indexes, I imagine, would be worth quite a bit of money. And once we have this, what we could do is actually buy and sell some shares of the index and hold on to those, and if it just so happens that the index goes up in value, we can sell those to make a quick profit if necessary. Obviously pretty helpful. There we go, we win the Battle of Monterey. Now I think I lost a fair number of units out of that arrangement, so that kind of hurts, and as a result we have high war losses, which will be causing some issues for us. Let's see, war losses 57, but it's going down by 2 right now, so I don't know actually exactly how war losses affect you. I just know that it's generally bad. Seems to create a very upset population, and understandably so. And with Mexico's army completely crushed, we are free to run rampant all over the country, which should be no problem at all for me. Okay. So we're probably going to gain, a lot more warmonger points, and the world doesn't tend to like that. I think it does reduce your relations with pretty much everybody in the world, but it gets me some more terrain, it gets me more population, it gets me more resources I can extract, etc., etc. All of this has to be good. Oh, also, we just finished integrating the military of Canada a little bit, so there we go. Our citizens want free public transport. Yeah, that's fine. That's relatively affordable for me. We reduce unhappiness, and I get a free project implemented, which saves me a lot of time, so I like that idea. What else can we do to integrate Canada? We can go for the scientific integration. Now, what does this do? Improves our scientific integration by 10%. Okay, is that useful to me right now? Let's see, movement of capital. Okay, we can have economic integration, and it looks like our block leader HDI, Human Development Index, goes up by 10. My God, that seems amazing. Yes, I want that. And we are at 100% war score with Mexico, which means automatically the peace negotiations are going to pop up. So let's go for our demands. Now, there's a few things we could do. We could try liberating some countries, which might be a way of reducing some warmonger points, depending on what the world likes. Triumph, make them simply give up, demilitarize them, reduce their expenses, maybe impose our political system or democracy, etc., etc. Validation of war, recognize my victory. Yeah, a lot of fun things we could do along over here, but we mostly are looking to acquire provinces because no matter what grand strategy game I am playing, I like to blob. So we're going to take all of this. I think that's 55% war score right there. Maybe we take a little bit more, 64%. Okay, seems okay. Let's also make sure that we do grab some of the water terrain here. Let's see, some of this. There we go. Yeah, we do want to make sure we take their sea tiles that we occupied, though because I didn't occupy any of these, I can't demand the coastline here. So that's a little bit awkward, but that's 84% war score right along there. So that does get me 44 warmonger points, which seems like a lot. Let's try liberating a country and see if this actually does anything. How about you liberate these guys right along here? You're going to liberate them, okay? And you're going to give me a whole load of territory. Does that sound good? I think it sounds good. That's 95% war score. I like it. Let's send that. And peace offer was accepted. Boom. And we are not going to be playing as the new nation. Though actually, it doesn't look like it created a new nation. I'm not sure if that's a feature that's not fully integrated, but certainly conquest is. Take a look at that. The United States of America grows. We've taken over the entire northern half of Mexico. So that's one way we are continuing to expand our influence. We're going to continue working on Canada for a bit, and that works. And I got trade agreements going with half of Europe right now. which seems to be doing pretty well as far as like just getting me lots of influence. So I could probably start forcing a lot of these guys to join my blocks if I wanted to, which would be pretty nice. So yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do in this game, guys. So many different ways to approach various different types of victories. It's pretty cool. I think there's a lot of potential for this game. It's certainly rare that we do find a modern era grand strategy game, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing more about what this game is going to do over the next couple of months. I'm sure we will revisit it as we get closer to the release date. But in the meantime, I hope that's a good snapshot as to what this game has to offer. If you guys would like to learn more, don't forget there is a link in the description down below. Thank you all very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If so, then I would humbly ask that you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.